Hello and welcome to Gaining Insights into Water Mitigation Claims with Symbility. I'm Ken Robinson, one of the product managers here at Symbility Solutions, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. In this webinar, we will show you how to streamline water mitigation claims using Symbility's single system, single charge approach. This webinar continues Symbility's free webinar series. Watch for new installments every month to learn more about Symbility products. Today's presentation will be recorded and made available for viewing on SymbilitySolutions.com. There is also a question and answer session after the presentation, so please type your questions into the chat panel and direct them to me, Ken Robinson. If you've not already done so, please mute your phones now. And without further ado, today's presenter is our Senior Product Specialist at Symbility Solutions, Scott Weems. Take it away, Scott.
Well, thanks, Ken, and good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate all of you joining us and myself and the Symbility team for this exciting webinar on the Mobile Claims Water Mitigation Job Management Tool. We really believe that if you handle water mitigation claims or simply are an adjuster who needs to track and monitor the progress of water mitigation jobs, you will quickly come to understand why this valuable tool inside of Mobile Claims is going to help you out a tremendous amount. Well, to begin today's webinar, we're first going to answer the question as to why even build and design a water mitigation tool in the first place. We're going to talk about some of the most common challenges insurance companies and water mitigators alike have to deal with when it comes to managing water losses. Then we will discuss how this new water mitigation job management tool is going to address these challenges. After that, well, we're going to go ahead and jump into the actual demonstration of the tool itself and take the time to go through it in some pretty good detail. Now, because of our limited time, we can't go through an entire water mitigation loss scenario and demonstrate every part of how this great feature works. But we're going to be covering some of the key parts of the tool, and at the end of the webinar, we will take questions. And we're also going to give you the steps on how you can follow to get this tool turned on inside of your mobile claims. And then finally, we're going to introduce you to some of the excellent training resources to get you started. As Ken mentioned earlier, as we go through the webinar, you can send questions directly to Ken via the WebEx. There's a little question area that you can put your questions in. And as we have time towards the end of the demonstration, we'll try to answer as many as we can. So with that, why don't we get started? Someone's clicking on a keyboard just to let you know. All right, so the first question is, historically, when you're handling water mitigation claims, there's always been some challenges. One of the most prominent was the need to use different systems for writing the estimates and recording the drying activities. There are systems out there today that allow you to track the drying record and even some that integrate into existing estimating systems. But in the end, well, there's still two separate systems and, of course, two hits on your pocketbook. That same challenge translates into sharing information on the progress of drying activities for a property between different claim participants. Mitigators and adjusters have to move between systems and document formats to track and view the drying record. And of course, that can be a pretty time-consuming process. There is also the challenge to the adjuster who has to review the drying record on a property, not being able to see details such as, well, the exact placement of the equipment, where the readings were taken, and all those different things puts them at a disadvantage. That, coupled with the problem of inconsistency between the drying record and the invoices, can lead to some significant problems and issues. Finally, there is the challenge of the duplication of effort. A water mitigator and adjuster often create their own floor plan of the same house, and that's a lot of duplication. Data that could have been shared is entered in twice, not to mention the possible overlap of estimate line items when estimates are written in two different systems. Well, these are just some of the challenges that Symbility customers and the industry shared with us as we began to explore this whole area of water mitigation. And of course, because Symbility is a technology company and we're in the business of solving problems, we truly set out to solve these issues. And frankly, that's where this whole idea of the water mitigation job management tool came from. This new feature within Mobile Claims addresses all of these historical challenges and does it in a very collaborative way. We began by designing the water mitigation tool directly into Mobile Claims, our estimating tool. By giving the insurance company the ability to break a claim out into different assignments, we solved the problem of having the water mitigation portion of the claim and other parts of a claim, such as the restoration estimate, in separate systems. This means the drying record will now automatically match that invoice. Any claim, by the way, can be turned into a water mitigation claim with a click of the mouse, and all the drying record can now be documented within the system, including readings, drying goals, equipment, you name it. Of course, all this can be recorded by the mitigator using the Symbility Mobile Claims app on a tablet or smartphone right there in the field, right where it's all happening. The system also guides the entire drying process. And when I mean by the entire drying process, I'm talking about the IICRC standards, which are built into the system. The S500 standards will calculate equipment needed based upon category and class of water, as well as other parameters such as the size of the rooms in the chamber and the percentage of the floor area that was impacted. The system will use this information to give recommendations to the mitigator as to the type and quantity of equipment that needs to be used within the drying chamber. And as of course you can understand, that optimizes the use of equipment for the most effective drying. And of course, another point is the advantage of being able to review the water mitigation file easily. Because every participant works on the same file, there's no need to bounce between systems and document formats. It's all right there at your fingertips. Finally, the entire job is transparent to all the claim stakeholders. The adjuster and the mitigator can see the progress of the drying and communicate back and forth within the system. Can you imagine no more phone calls to check on the status of a drying job? It's all right there under one umbrella. So the water mitigation job management tool inside of Symbility Mobile Claims is a powerful asset for both the insurance adjuster and the water mitigator alike. So without any more discussion, why don't we just jump in and actually show you what the system looks like and do a demonstration of this. A lot of you will recognize this screen. This is the Symbility Mobile Claims estimating tool, and this happens to be the claim dashboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be showing this tool inside of two claims. One, a brand new claim with nothing in it, so I can show you how it starts. And then we're going to go towards the end of the webinar. We're going to pull up one that already has a completed estimate and water mitigation job inside of it so you can see what a completed one looks like. So let's open up this first claim and begin the process. Now, when you first open up a claim, you'll notice that on the right-hand side or wherever you have your Claim Explorer, you have all your different options here. And there's a form that's automatically been pulled in. In this demonstration, the form was automatically attached, but if you haven't attached it already, you can quickly go here and click Add, and you can attach that form. The forms will be down here at the bottom because they're alphabetical. If you'll notice when I click on this Water Mitigation Initial Inspection form, we have some basic information that pulls in from the claim, the insurance carrier, claim information, etc. But down here in this area right here, this is the area you want to focus on. This is an actual trigger, because going to the category of the water and selecting the category, again, these categories are outlined by the IICRC, I can now turn on the water mitigation module simply by clicking on that option. I then can put in the source of the water. So let's just say we had a water line break under the kitchen sink. So we can put that as our primary source of the water. And you have other questions, by the way, you can answer on things like mold or things like that. But once that part is done, you now can begin the process of generating and building your water mitigation claim. Now, again, because of time, we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull a diagram in from my library. This is a diagram of a home, and you'll notice in our loss scenario that we're going to use, we're going to say the water actually originated under the kitchen sink. So I'm going to go to the callout and say water line break under kitchen sink. So I've documented that. That is an optional, by the way, thing, but I wanted to show this to you just so you can understand how the documentation can stand on its own. Now, at this point in time, once I've got this and once I'm ready to go ahead and do that, the first step is to create my chamber. Now, I'm not going to go into describing exactly what a chamber is and all that stuff. You guys all know about that. But to create a chamber, you can hold the control button down on your keyboard and you can select the rooms on your floor plan that are to be involved in the chamber. Once you've got those, you then go up to the Water Mitigation tab and the chamber option will be highlighted. When I click on the chamber, this dialog comes up, and it now allows you to begin defining the chamber. So the first thing, I can call this I'll call it Chamber 1. The class of water is the next thing to put in there. You'll notice when you hover over this drop-down, all the different classes of water and the descriptions, again, all this comes from the IICRC, you can see everyone right here. So the system is saying you need to tell us what is the class of the water. So in this case, we'll just say it's a class 2. And now the 2 rooms that we put into our chamber now appear here. I now must indicate what is the percentage of affected floor space in these 2 rooms. This is an estimate, but I'm going to say that the closet had pretty much, it was a small closet, but it had water throughout the entire closet. In the kitchen, we had about 75% done, impacted. Now, when I've done that, you'll notice down here we've got some recommendations and for the actual equipment. By me putting this information in, the system has now gone through and it's calculated the equipment that I'm going to need. It tells me I'm going to need 5 dehumidifiers, and it's also going to tell me based upon the type of, air movers, and it's going to tell me based upon the type of dehumidifier what I'm going to need. If you'll notice, I can click on any one of these hyperlinks, and it's got all the calculations there for me. All right, even going down to the factors, so I can see all the factors that have been there, again, based upon the psychometric readings. So I have all this information for me already calculated. So it's already helping me guide the process. When I click OK, my chamber is now created. And inside of each room, the chamber now of course, includes these 2 rooms, this one called Closet 3 and the kitchen. Now, at this point in time, what I want to do is I want to now indicate exactly how the water moved through this chamber. Well, what I can do is I can go up and use the water pen. Now, the water pen is very simple. It's simply a line tool, a freehand line tool that the user can use to indicate how the water is moved through, in this case, these 2 rooms. And again, I can move it and create this. I can even, if I want to, which of course most people want to do, is I can indicate exactly where the water ended and stopped based upon my moisture readings. So I can indicate that area as well. So the water pen is an additional thing, but again, it helps to tell the story. Now, once I've got all that done, I'm going to go ahead and begin to take some readings, because of course this is something you would have to do. Now, when I click on the chamber, you'll notice there are different readings that I can take. With the chamber selected, I can do the outside and room readings. So if I were to click on the room readings, the first thing that pops in, of course, is the kitchen. This is the room I had selected. And of course, it's inside of chamber 1. The meter type, of course, a thermohygrometer, and the meter name. This would default based upon your meter, so you enter it one time and you don't have to enter it again. And based upon when I set the job to start is how many of these dates I'm going to see. Obviously, I set the job to start yesterday, so that's what I would see, a blank. Most of the time when you start this, you're going to start the job on the day of, so you'll only have one date for a reading. So I simply double-click on here, and I begin to record my temperature and my relative humidity. I put that information in. I can even put further notes in here if I want, and I click OK. And when I click OK here, the system automatically then places this little meter icon here, and I've placed that reading in. I can also go in here and do a reading for the closet as well. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and say this was 80, and I'll put this at 45 as well. And now I've got that reading and click OK. So now what I've begun to do is I've begun to take readings and put them inside the chambers. Now, we can do more than just the readings, by the way. Obviously, readings are a big part of it. And by the way, if you want to click on the chamber, you can do an outside reading as well. The outside reading will pop up and allow you to put in the information for the outside readings and track that as well. And that will automatically, in this case, I'll zoom out to show you. It's automatically going to put this reading over here, but of course you can move it anywhere you want to indicate where that reading was taking place. Now that I've got the readings, one of the things I need to do is begin to record my moisture readings and set my drying goals. Drying goals, again, are done by the chamber and for the rooms inside the chamber. So to set a drying goal, I click on the room I want to set the drying goal for, and I click on this option up here called Drying Goal. When I click on it, what it does is it indicates I'm in the kitchen, and it now asks me to begin defining this material. We have all the most common types of materials that you would work with, of course, And let's say we're going to start with a wood structure. We're going to pretend this wood had some subflooring right in front of where that kitchen sink was. So I choose wood structure. It automatically indicates wood. And then I can put comments in here. And I can say wood subfloor in front of the kitchen sink. And I can set my goal at whatever I want. I'll just say 12% for this. Now what I do is I can record the different readings as the days go on. So for instance here, for the time, you can put the time in. You can even indicate the user that does this. So if you have somebody else that goes and records this, it'll indicate who took this reading. And I can indicate what the moisture reading was at that point in time. When I'm done, I click OK, and it records it. And again, every day that goes by, I can continue to take those moisture readings and record those, and they begin to record them. I can now take that drying goal and place it right at its exact place where I took that reading. So in this case, right in front of the kitchen sink. And now I can continue that process. So let's say I wanted to indicate I took I want to set a drying goal, and I took some readings at this wall here going to the hallway. So I can set drying goal. Again, in this case, I'm going to choose the drywall for the wall. And I can say that this reading was taken at 6 inches from floor level. And my drying goal for this was 10. And again, I can go through and begin recording these and say what those readings were. Now, every day that goes by, obviously, when you click on either one of these readings or the drying goal, it's going to have another date there for you to automatically put in until you say that the job is finished. And the great thing about this, and I'll show you when we go to the completed claim, when you finally meet the drying goal, well, I can just show this to you here if you want. I'll just put down to 10. As soon as you meet the drying goal, you get a little green circle with a white arrow inside that indicates that you've met the drying goals for that material at that location. And again, you just repeat that process as you go through the entire water mitigation claim. So we've got that, but what about the equipment? We have to obviously talk about putting equipment in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you over in this left side this dehumidifier and air mover pop-out box. This dialog box comes out when you have the chamber highlighted. And you'll notice we've got two different areas here. The first one says air movers, and this one doesn't say anything yet because it doesn't know whether you're going to use a dehumidifier, like a low-grain dehumidifier, or if you're going to use a desiccant. It doesn't know just yet. So it's waiting to find out from you. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the MSB Total Component Database, and we're going to find the category called mitigation. Mitigation is here, and there's 4 subcategories underneath it. And if you want to, of course, use this system, you're going to spend some time just getting familiar with these. Each one of these categories contains information related to that. So in this case, here's the water mitigation. It's got all the different information, extracting water from the floor, removing and bagging, all the different things you're going to do in a water mitigation claim. In my case, though, I'm going to focus on the equipment and go in here. We're going to pull some equipment in and track that. Now, again, there's lots of different equipment listed inside of here. You'll see a great deal of different items. I'm going to just take a standard air mover, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to drag it and drop it inside of the kitchen. Now, as soon as I drop it inside the kitchen, you will notice that it asks for an ID, and this is for this particular air mover. So let's say the ID for this air mover, that was the equipment number I had. And I can even go ahead and put what type of air mover it was, like the make and model. So let's just say this was a Dry Ease Sahara Pro X3. How's that? And by the way, you can save these, so you don't have to type it in every time. You can save it to a quick list, so you can pull them in every time. Or in this case, I just copied it if I wanted to do it that way. When I click OK, you'll notice what it does is it puts that air mover, it just drops it in the room. You now would then go ahead and place the air mover. So I'm going to put the air mover here, and if you'll notice, it's actually pointing at that 45-degree angle that we want it to point at, and we're going to get a clockwise rotation. I'm going to go ahead and grab another one, pull it down here and drop it. Same thing, I give it the ID. I'll go ahead and put in the type, and you'll notice it puts in the defaults to today's date and time and puts it in there. I click OK, and again, I've got the option to move it where I want to. Now let's put one more over here, And if you'll notice, by the way, as we're putting these in, on the right side, you'll notice that this is moving. This bar over here has begun to move up, and it says 3, and it's still in red. It's in red because it's indicating that you have yet to meet, based upon the S500 standards, you've yet to meet the minimum number of air movers you need, which in this case was 5. By the way, if I want to, I can rotate this around so I can get it and point it in the right angle. Again, the whole purpose of this is to be able to tell the story, and whoever's going to look at this can tell, okay, you had them placed here, this is the direction you had them pointed, all pointing again to being able to record the loss and dry it the best way possible. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple in here just so you can see how this works with regards to, I'm going to drop this one here and put one more in there. You will now notice, by the way, that this line over here has now, this bar has now turned green, because that means you have met the minimum. If I were to go and put in 8 air movers, it would go from green to red, indicating you probably have too many air movers in there based upon the parameters that you identified at the beginning. So that's how we put in air movers in. And again, just like all these, you can rotate these around and show them this. And you can imagine, so if an adjuster sees this, the adjuster is going to see exactly where you place the air movers, what you've done with them, and it will tell the story with regards to the loss itself. Now let's talk about a dehumidifier, because dehumidifiers are slightly different because it's more than just putting in when you put it in and when you pulled it out. I'm going to go down here and just choose, since this is a fairly small loss, I'm going to go ahead and take this dehumidifier. It's a low grain refrigerant. Actually, I think I'll do the under 110. I'm going to pull this over and drop it in place. Now when you drop this one in place, a different dialog box comes up. This dialog box is going to be asking for some readings that you did not have to take, of course, with an air mover. So again, I can put my ID in, and now I can begin recording the readings at the dehumidifier on these different dates. So of course, again, we're just assuming this is, we've already done this, but again, I can record the temperature, I can record the relative humidity, and I can also go down here and put in the hour readings on the hour meter on the equipment if it has it. So I can record this information. And you'll notice, by the way, it's actually telling me, based upon these readings, what my grains of moisture per pound of air is going to be. It's calculating that for me. Now when I do that, you'll notice now this green bar pops up over here, because based upon what I put in, which in this case was a low green refrigerant under 110 pints, it's now telling me that I'm well within compliance now of what was required, again, based upon those parameters. So that's how you place equipment into here. Now, every day, again, as I said before, I'll go ahead and minimize this. Every day as you come back, you have access to put the readings in. And as we mentioned before, you can do this on your smartphone or your tablet as you're walking through. All these readings can be found directly here. You can go to any one of these, double-click, and put a reading in. You have access to all of this. You can do it by day here, and you can click on any one you want, and it'll actually show you over here where it's at. So if you want to, you can do it all just from one place, which is really nice to be able to do that. Again, anytime you want, you can go to your chamber properties and you can see everything that you've worked with. In this case, by the way, now that we chose a low-grain refrigerant, these 2 other different types of dehus are now grayed out because we've chosen to go with this one here as well. All right, so at that point in time, we've shown you how to kind of basically build this and continue on. If you were to go back over here to the Water Mitigation Initial Inspection form, you'll notice there's an option called Job Completed. When the job is completed, you can, of course, go into your diagram again, and you can indicate whatever the equipment is. You can actually indicate when it was removed. You can pull all those things out, and of course, your estimate's going to have all the different items you put in, whether in this case I've just got equipment in here for now, but if you were putting, obviously when you're doing all the mitigation work with regards to pulling the drywall out and the flooring and all those things, all that's going to be in there as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to close this claim, and I'm going to open up a claim that is already completed. This is a claim, be very similar to the one we've got here. I wanted to keep it fairly consistent. This is a completed water mitigation claim. In this case, we've got both the hallway, the closet, and the kitchen involved in this. I can see over here, I can pull this out, and I can see again, upon the parameters that I set for this loss, what my requirements were. And I want to show you the summary report. The summary report is a report that we created that will give you a good summary of the actual drying record. In this case, it's called the Water Mitigation Summary Report. Of course, you can have your logo in the top just like always. And this report, by the way, we can help you if you want to customize it a little bit. It's got the job started and job completed date, and now it begins to go through the chambers. You can do, by the way, as many chambers as you want inside of a water mitigation loss. You are not limited to just one chamber. It's going to tell you how many rooms were impacted inside that chamber, in this case 3, the class of water, the linear surface, linear footage of the area, and the surface square footage, and your volume. And then it's going to go through and give you a chart that gives you your information based upon your different readings and where those readings were. This is kind of a color-coded chart that kind of walks you through all that. You'll notice, by the way, it also gives you your drying goals based upon what you put in. So in this case, I've got my drying goals for the hallway. The hallway was wood structure, kitchen wood structure, etc. It's going to have all these things listed. You also have the equipment listed by zone. So in this case, I'm going to start here by just looking at my different monitoring, the locations I monitored, so I can see everything that I've got here, the closet, outside, the hallway, the kitchen. And then I can go down and now see my drying goals. It tells me the material and any comments that I might have put. So I've got wood structure. This is a wood subfloor. My goal was 10%. My initial reading was 33, and my final reading was 10. So that indicates that I met the drying goal for this. All the way down, and then it's going to then, of course, give you your equipment summary. So in this case, we had one dehumidifier that was placed in the kitchen. It indicates the type. It indicates the name of it. It indicates when it was added and removed, and it also has all the readings as you went through. And the air movers, where they were placed as far as what room, closet, hallway, kitchen, when they were put in, the name, the comments on it, in this case, the indication of the brand, the model, and exactly where it was placed. So this information is now available as you begin to work this estimate. Again, everything is done via the diagram. We just have a separate option up here for the water mitigation, and that's how you kind of fire the whole thing off. Now, let's go back over here real quick, and we'll finish this up, and we'll see if we can take some questions. Real quickly, to get started, the water mitigation module is something that has to be turned on. We have a magic little checkbox in our master system that turns it on for your system. So to get started, it's very easy. If you're a single account user, meaning a credit card user, and you are using the system, there is no cost for this tool, by the way. It is free to everybody that already has a subscription. So you can contact the Symbility account specialist. There's the phone number or an email that you can call or email, and they can go ahead and get it turned on for you. If you are a company contract user, meaning you're somebody that's under a company contract, you simply contact your Symbility account manager. And finally, with regards to training, we have a lot of training options, but since most of us like the word free, we'll start with a free one, and that is the training manual. There is a link that will take you, a hyperlink directly to the training manual if you don't already have access to that via your Symbility support site. We will be sending out some documentation after the webinar, which will have the link that will take you directly to this. It's a very well-written training portion of the manual that will actually walk you through how to do this. If you would like to get training for your company and begin using this, obviously Symbility has a very good training department, and we can take the time to get somebody in contact with you and set up either some web-based training or some on-site training. All right, with that, Ken, I know we just have a couple of minutes left. Any questions that came in that we could possibly answer?
Yes, Scott. The first question we have is, when you created the file shown in the demo, did you create it yesterday, or can the creation date be changed? For example, if you were to create the file today and wanted it to reflect readings from yesterday.
Absolutely. You can set the job start date anytime you want. You can set that because we realize that just because you get the claim yesterday, or you may need to set the job start date to a different one. So yeah, you can set that. That's not something that's locked down.
Perfect. Next question is, can I create multiple chambers on multiple floor plans and track all that mitigation work in a single claim file?
Yes, absolutely. That question is probably coming from the perspective of a commercial job. Absolutely. Just like you can in Symbility mobile claims, you can create multiple floor plans, and each one of those can have, your own chambers and what you're doing in there. Absolutely. And it'll track and pull it all together.
Thank you, Scott. I do see additional questions coming in, and just want to let everyone know that in addition to that follow-up email, we'll include a list of all the questions that came in, and also provide answers for all those questions as part of our follow-up message. And at this point, I would like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and thank you, Scott, for a great presentation. If anyone has additional questions, please contact us at sales@symbilitysolutions.com or give us a call at 866-647-1147. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.